General Assembly was in session. You better hold on to your wallets. This photo makes me want to puke. Take a good look at this and think about this for a minute. This is the mayor of Virginia Beach, a Republican, and a director of TowneBank, with newly elected Democratic Governor Terry McAuliffe, with Mayor Paul Frame, another director of TowneBank, partying it up because the Republican helped defeat the Republican candidate and get the Democrat elected as governor. And it's all about light rail.
Well, Reed, you forgot how they got there. On a plane with Bruce Thompson.
Thank you. They flew on a plane with Bruce Thompson. I'm sorry, great detail.
$1,200 a seat.
Folks, you're Tea Party, you're Sentinels. They never give up, and neither can we. House Bill 1253, on the House side, Delegate Chris Jones. Senate Bill 513, Senator Frank Wagner. House Bill 2, Delegate Chris Stolley. How did we get here? In 2002, Senate Bill 668 was being debated on 6 major regional projects, and we had a regional-wide referendum, and it was huge. And the grassroots came out, we fought the moneyed interests, and we killed them 2-1 at the polls. We destroyed this plan in 2002, thanks to the people in this room. So that went down in flames. Never say die, Senator Wagner and his friends say. So they turned around and brought it back in 2007 under House Bill 3202. Only they decided, let's make it worse. Let's put some more Agenda 21 provisions into House Bill 3202. And it created a Regional Transportation Authority, HRTA. We had meetings, people went down, it was unbelievable. It passed the General Assembly, Governor Tim Kaine signed it into law, woohoo! And several people in this room said, hold on a minute, how do you have taxation without representation in Virginia? So they got a hold of Pat McSweeney in Richmond, and we sued the General Assembly. And a year later, almost to the day, the Virginia Supreme Court unanimously overturned House Bill 3202 as an unconstitutional entity. Meanwhile, they never stopped. So Governor Bob McDonnell and our fellow Republicans in the House and Senate cooked up the massive taxportation bill, House Bill 2313 in 2013. Bring it back again and made it even worse. And I'm going to show you on the next slide. So that goes into the General Assembly last year, and they passed that bill. And basically what they did is they broke it into 2 parts, folks. A little bait and switch. Last year they passed the taxes in the General Assembly. This year they create the unaccountable regional government to spend the money. So it's not taxation without representation, it's completely constitutional. What did it do? Well, it generated over $1.8 billion in additional funding for maintenance. It increased the funding for transit providers, these are facts, by $509 million. Provides $256 million for inner city passenger rail. Yet if you ask anybody, does Senate Bill 518 fund light rail? They will look you in the face and lie to your face and tell you absolutely not. Well, that's a lie, and I'll prove it to you. Generates additional revenue for the airports and seaports, generates $172 million to $226 million for Hampton roads. Toll booths, Bob, legacy. So basically, this bill last year created a pot of money, and this year the General Assembly says, how do we spend it? Woohoo! Let's go shopping. What you got to do a little bit is understand that anything in the General Assembly, even though it might be written today, can be changed tomorrow. So it's interesting to go back a year and look at this article and a quote by Aubrey Lane, regional member of the Commonwealth Transportation Board, who told the TPO, the possible transportation law signed by Governor McDonnell can be amended in future years to allow local leaders to spend regional dollars on mass transit. He said it depends largely on who wins the upcoming gubernatorial election. If Terry McAuliffe wins, well, he's more in favor of public transportation than Ken Cuccinelli. You getting this? Now, during the 2002 Yes campaign, Tricia Stahl over on the peninsula ran against Senator Marty Williams, Republican, beat him, and he lost his gig in the General Assembly and was fired by you, the voters. A couple days ago, Governor McAuliffe, a Democrat, appointed Senator Marty Williams to the Commonwealth Transportation Board to make decisions about you. Why does a Democrat appoint Republicans? He said, and I quote, "I want appointees who share my vision. I want them on the board to be a part of the decision making." Isn't it interesting that the Republicans share Democrat, the head of the DNC's vision for the way we should do things in Virginia? What are House Bill 53? Creates the Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission. You're going to get to know this real soon after it goes active, because you're not going to like what it does to you. Basically, this is how it's set up. Each mayor or county supervisor from the 14-member localities in our region, 3 delegates from the General Assembly who are appointed by the Speaker, 2 senators who are appointed by the Senate Committee Rules. Prior to this, the way the TPO did it, it was required to split them between the peninsula and the south side. That language is gone. We don't have that anymore. Non-voting, you've got the Director of Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation. Let me think, why would the Director of Rail be on this thing that's only supposed to work for roads? Interesting. You've got the Commissioner of Highways, and you have the Executive Director of the VPA. Now what's interesting, he's appointed by the Governor. The Port. Interesting. HRTAC stands for Higher Regional Taxes Are Coming, because, friends, tolls are taxes. This is the bill. You can see in red, Director of Department of Rail and Public Transportation. Goes in here. One nice thing about it, which was an idea I put in with Bob McDonnell many years ago, it has weighted votes. The unintended consequence is that Mayor Frame and Mayor Sessoms, the 2 TowneBank directors, control the majority of the decisions that are made by this new all-appointed commission. So as long as Paul Frame and Will Sessoms, the 2 TowneBank directors, agree, they pretty much get to decide what happens in our entire region thanks to this new all-appointed commission. You look shocked. This is law. The General Assembly passed this. Goes into effect July 1st. Those of you in this room don't like blank checks. Almost everything about this bill is a blank check. But what you need to pay close attention to is it says not only are they allowed to issue bonds, but any other kind of debt with no limit. The bonds may be supported by any funds available. This is a brand new vehicle to create regional debt, because Lord knows we have enough local debt, Lord knows we have enough state debt, Lord knows we have enough federal debt. Now we need regional debt. What can they do with this? Right now, every bridge, road, piece of infrastructure belongs to this commission. They can form public-private partnerships, just like they did with the Elizabeth River crossing, and give away all of our infrastructure to private companies who are allowed to charge whatever they want for us to use our roads. That's what this says. They can get money from any legitimate private source to fund this, meaning that their public-private partners can contribute money to the bank account to this new, pay the bills at this new regional commission.
Meaning China.
Or China. Has no limitations. It also says that this new commission is allowed to take over all transit and rail facilities. Well, that's kind of interesting, because if you wanted to reduce government, then why didn't we just abolish the Transportation District Commission of Hampton Roads, HRT, and have this run HRT, since it's supposed to manage all the transportation, and maybe have less government? Don't know. It's not what they did. But you'll notice that it is included without limitations. Attorneys, financial advisors, engineers, and other technical advisors, provisions of the law contrary. There's no salary caps. The executive director of this can be paid more than the governor. Who writes this crap for bills and laws? Are you kidding me?
Will Sessoms.
Apparently, TowneBank. Now, the administrative expenses are allocated among the component counties and cities on the basis of their population. Who's the most populated city in Hampton Roads?
Yeah.
We are. Who's going to pay the most for all this crap? We are. Thank you, General Assembly. It says right here, Commission is a responsible public entity under the Public-Private Transportation Act. One thing you need to understand, under the Freedom of Information Act, when you have a normal government function, you can go and ask for the information. You can get copies of the budget. You can get the salaries. You can get the information. I have the salary of every person in the city of Virginia Beach. But under the Public-Private Partnership Act in Virginia, those things can be negotiated between this all-appointed body and the private partner, and they don't have to give the public the information. You're getting this, right? So now we're not even going to know what people are being paid or where our money is going. No limits, no sunset, no referendum required to raise the cost on tolls, no citizen votes on the membership, no citizen rights to even speak at the new authority are in the code. It says they can make up whatever they want that they deem prudent to do their business, and they'll pass those bylaws, and that's acceptable because that's the way the law was written by the General Assembly. No limits on salaries. They do get per diem and expenses for their members. It says there shall be no limit on the number of consultants, employees, amount of debt, cost for insurance, legal fees, advertising, lobbying, travel. They can exempt anyone they want from the tolls, and they don't have to tell you. They can set the tolls as high as they want because the General Assembly did not put any limits on this new regional commission. And the profits can be guaranteed to go to the private partners. Did we learn nothing from the Elizabeth River crossing debacle in Portsmouth?
Yeah,
Did we learn nothing about HRT and light rail and cost overruns? House Bill 2 sounds innocuous enough. Sounds like a good idea. It's being touted to tell you, oh, we're going to make traffic congestion reduction a great factor from now on in deciding at the Commonwealth Transportation Board what projects will be funded with your transportation dollars. Baloney! Listen to what it says. The cost of the project or strategy, at a minimum, the following will be considered. Economic development is one of them. Congestion mitigation, accessibility, safety, environmental quality. But it doesn't preclude any other factors, nor does it tell you what the weighting is required to be. If they wanted the money to go to fix the roads, it should have said 51% of the weighted value of all decisions shall be traffic congestion relief. But they didn't write that in the bill. Now you might say maybe they didn't think about it. But there are some people in this room who took my recommendations up to Richmond to put that in the bill, and they chose not to do it. So we recommended that they do it, and they ignored us. So, a couple days ago, the governor was in town, and he was talking to the Transportation Planning Organization, and he decided to treat all of these chairs and mayors as little children. And listen to the tone of this rhetoric. No more complaining, whining, or bickering. It's your decision now. Make the decisions, and make them smart, make them quickly, and do it in a manner that, number one, opens up the area for economic development. Wait, didn't you just tell us the number one criteria would be reducing traffic congestion? Isn't that what House Bill 2 was supposed to do? Wait a minute. Number one, open up the area for economic development. And number two, ease traffic congestion. That is now the mission. You're reading this, right? Translation, business lobby, you won. Get going before anybody realizes it. Strike while the iron is hot. Cram that light rail down in Virginia Beach. Get this stuff rolling. There's another reason they have to do that. Folks, we're broke, and I'll get to that. We don't need economic development with our gas taxes. We need our roads fixed. I drive on Route 264 to go to work. It's like driving on the moon. That's our primary way of getting tourists in and out of Virginia Beach. If ever there was a priority, we should fix the darn road. But we're too busy blowing billions on stupid light rail. Our good friend, Senator Wagner. It's all about the port, right? The third crossing. $5 billion bridge tunnel for the port. One thing you need to understand, every dime of profit from the port goes to the General Assembly in Richmond. Why do they want to make us pay for the improvements to that down here? Why not? if we do it, we're going to be told to death, folks. This new commission can put tolls anywhere they want with no limitations whatsoever. And the Stoley brothers and Frank Wagner, they're all in on this. And Secretary of Transportation Aubrey Lane is telling you a big lie when he says, well, this can't raise your taxes. It's not unconstitutional. Friends, if you put tolls all over Tidewater, you're raising my taxes. It's an end around the Virginia Supreme Court constitutional ruling on House Bill 3202. In fact, much of this bill is House Bill 3202 repackaged. Ironically, anybody remembers Frank Wagner and how he got elected to the General Assembly in the first place? On Route 44, we had a toll booth. You had these little blue tickets, and you had to stop every night in a 1.5 mile lane to get home. And Frank said, hey, I'll take the tolls off the road. It's already paid for. Vote for me. Tolls are bad. Now you got Frank Wagner going, let me make an all-appointed commission that can put tolls anywhere they want without limits. Let's talk a little bit. We talked about TowneBank. So I did a little more research. And the relationships of people is really interesting. Invest Ventures is a venture capital group, and its partners are Frank Wagner, Jeff McWaters, Aubrey Lane, and Vincent Mastracco. And they take this money and they invest in the businesses and technology in our area that are going to make profits, and they also take grants from their other board partner member who's not mentioned here, from our local charities. Then Davis Boat Works, which sits right where the third crossing is going to go, has a group called Venture Dynamics, and the president of that is Frank Wagner, and the vice president is Ron Villanueva. Even more interesting is that during the Obama bailout for shovel-ready projects, Frank Wagner took a grant to build new buildings on his shipyard so he can put paint on boats. And he spent money from the American Recovery Investment Act, and he brags about it on his website. Now, you have to understand the relationships. These people are Aubrey Lane, Jeff McWaters, Frank Wagner are all business partners. And they're TowneBank directors. And there's billions in bonds and tax dollars. Are you getting this? Interesting thing. While all this was going on in 2008, and we just beat back House Bill 3202 was declared unconstitutional, and we'd done all that, a bill was put into the General Assembly without the knowledge of anyone by Bob Tata and Frank Wagner. And that bill declared that light rail was in the public interest of the city of Virginia Beach. And it says everyone was shocked, including HRT. No one had any idea. And the bill unanimously passed. Virginia Beach City Council members were quoted as saying, we didn't even know the bill was in the General Assembly. You're following this, right? Okay. So this is a recent ad from the Daily Press over on the peninsula, right after they passed Senate Bill 513. And the quote in here from Tommy Norman over on the peninsula is, we're just setting the table. We're lining up the chess pieces. He went back to the state and said, give me millions to do a study to run light rail over on the peninsula. And then he turns around in his article. Now remember, the regional authority sets tolls. Higher tolls drivers pay, but transit riders don't pay tolls. They ride for free, even though the buses go on the roads. And what he's saying is, every tube or tunnel that's going to cross the third crossing must have another 2 tubes in it at a cost of $2 billion for light rail. And this is the plan that they're putting together. And quote on the bottom, we're just setting the table. Okay. You guys all look like you're in shock. Okay, all right? So, what's new for Virginia Beach? Well, you guys know that we've been talking about light rail here for a long time and trying to prevent it. So there's a $6.6 million study in progress, and there are 3 alternatives that were proposed. One for $470 million that does 4.8 miles from Newtown Road to Rosemont. Why would we run a train from Rosemont to Newtown Road? Because the cost allocation agreement for the operations of Mayor Frame's train now shares the expenses with Virginia Beach if it crosses over into our city. And the 2-year grace period where you got federal grant money to subsidize the general fund for the city's fair ran out. So he's going to be stuck with an $11 to $14 million deficit in Norfolk if he can't get Virginia Beach to move the train into his Virginia Beach from Norfolk so that we can bail out Norfolk.